All right. We're back for a third episode, actually, of the Tough Love podcast. I'm very happy to be able to have another guest. And I think this is a different type of thing, which is I always want different type of guests because your breakup is actually fairly recent, isn't it?
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago, or it would have been 3 weeks ago yesterday.
Oh, then yeah,
I think.
I think that's a perfect um like perspective to be able to just talk about because having something that's like recent, I'm sure there's so many different emotions as opposed to somebody going
Yeah,
through it like a year later and all these things. Or like
yeah.
me, it's been like 3 or 4 months now.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I would just love for you to say your name, say your Reddit name if you want, and just talk about the things that happened that like the reason why you guys broke up and how are you feeling at this moment.
Okay. Yeah. So my name's Noah. Noah. Yeah. Easter Sunday of all days. It's kind of weird.
Right.
So we had been we've been pretty much dating for like close to a year. It's kind of one of those things like when we first met, like we instantly were pretty much already dating, and then about like 8 months ago we decided to make it official. Uh, I'm 26. She actually just turned 23, and I was
Right.
her first ever relationship. As weird as that sounds, she had just graduated college,
Right.
and
Right.
and she's actually like an engineer at NASA, and I guess like she had just kind of been
Oh,
focused on her career, since high school, and
right.
just kind of
Right.
never really focused about having a relationship.
Right.
And so we said like I love you pretty early into it. My ex before her, we dated for 5 years when I lived in New Orleans, and
Right.
but this moved along a lot quicker than any relationship I'd ever been in. I think it was a lot of I don't know. I had just started like my new job kind of at the same time that I met her, and kind of just felt like I was turning a corner in my life. And the whole idea that like, oh, I'm dating a rocket scientist, I was just like, she was very mature, uh,
Right.
pretty well put together for her age, like very well put together for her age. And, I thought it was just a lot healthier than any other relationship I'd ever been in.
Right.
But I think the fact that I was her first boyfriend, I think it was never really going to work out extremely long term. Because she claims it's nothing that I did and that she doesn't like regret any time we spent together. But she said that she could not, in good conscience, just kind of like settle for the first relationship she ever got in, and that she needed to see like what else was out there.
Right. So it's a bit of the grass is greener type of
Yeah,
syndrome that people tend to have. Okay, I see.
yeah, yeah. And honestly, like when I was like my first serious, or I say serious, my first real relationship, it was a girl that I dated my entire senior year of high school. We went off to college together. And I
Right.
felt so bad. But like 6 months after I started freshman year, it was kind of the same thing. Like this girl had not done anything wrong. It was just like I had the sense that like I needed to see what else is out there. Like I come from a very small town, and I went
Right.
to a little bit of a bigger college, and I was like, I just was meeting so many people that I had never like thought that I would meet in my life, and just kind of needed to see what else is out there. And I felt horrible because it was hard to tell this girl like, you didn't really do anything. And I
Yeah.
think it's kind of the same situation that I had to hear. Because it's hard to compete with the idea of like anything else could be out there, which for all she knows, anything else is available to her.
Right.
So I tried to convey, I was like, I think because it's your first relationship, you're like, we hit the point of like almost a year. And I think by that time, any relationship kind of wears off like that new car smell, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it stops being really like exciting and exhilarating after that. And after that, it kind of comes down to like commitment and like communication and making things work.
Yeah.
And I was like, I you might find somebody that makes you happier, but like you said, you love me, and if you mean it, like whatever relationship you get in after this, I think the same thing's gonna happen, and you might not realize
Right.
it now. Like right now, it just feels like you need to find like a different relationship to kind of like get back that feeling, but it's gonna happen. At least in my experience, it always happens right around that kind of like year mark. Like you lose that sense of like everything's so exciting, and
Yeah, yeah, that honeymoon phase just it wears out, and then that's like what I tend to believe is like that's when the real relationship starts, is like when the things that maybe at the beginning you thought were adorable that that person did, but then after a while it's like, okay, maybe that does annoy me, or maybe that does this. And then um in my case, this was like the longest relationship I had. It was over 3 years. Back, I would just date around, and it just wasn't ever really serious. And I didn't actually expect how hard a relationship actually is to make it work. And
yeah,
since I guess she may not have that experience of like, she may be very committed to her job, or maybe very committed to this, to that, to her passions, but her not having much experience in a relationship hasn't developed a passion for that person. And then therefore she doesn't like, when once that wall hits of like, okay, well, now the honeymoon phase is over, it's like pushing it that extra, giving it that extra effort. It's foreign to a person that's never been in a relationship. So it's understandable in one case, but at the same time, it is like, you know it does require work. And then that should be something that they should know when they're stepping into it, because you are dealing with another person. You're always going to have another person at your side. So it's not like a book, right? It's not like a
yeah,
book where you can be like, okay, I'm kind of done with this book right now. It's kind of boring. I'll pick it up later. You can't just drop somebody like that. So it is that thing of like the grass is greener, and it may be or may not be, but
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
guessing that they just want to have that experience, but at the same time, they have no idea what they're in for, because, like you said, they can meet somebody potentially worse, or potentially somebody that's going to be like them, and then that's the same thing. That cycle is just going to repeat.
yeah,
Like, they're going to have somebody that's going to say the same thing to them, like, it was just great and all, but kind of moved on. And then that's when they're kind of have to sit in their stew, and just figure out, okay, well, what happened. And then I guess that's where the maturing to start.
yeah, yeah. I don't really have any like resentment against her for like feeling that she needed to see what else is out there. I guess what kind of like upset me the most was I had spent like Saturday before Easter, the day before Easter, with like her and her extended family, and like her mom and my mom were like really good friends. We were getting lunch together. Her mom was like looking at apartments for us to potentially get, because she was kind of asking me like, when are you gonna engage or propose? And I was like, not for a little bit. It's like,
Right, right,
I understand you're very excited because it's your daughter's first ever relationship, but I don't really
right.
think we're at that point yet. But yeah, I spent the day before Easter with like her and her extended family, stayed over at her place, and I left that morning like Easter to go see my family, and everything was fine. And then that day she called me. She did it over the phone
Mm,
because she hates conflict. We had never had anything that resembled like that you would even consider an argument,
right.
which I thought was a good sign going into it. But now I'm starting to realize that I think maybe she is just very reserved
Mm,
and like afraid to like you know say
right,
anything that made her like unhappy. She was just very like go with the flow. And like engineers like they're kind of like that most of the time. Like and so yeah, it was just very unexpected because she had not voiced anything about hey like oh I'm not as happy as I used to be, and
right,
like our I got along with her family so well. I had literally like, just saw her like 24 hours before and everything was fine. And
right,
she cried a little bit. She's like, I don't I kind of hate myself for doing this, or I'm mad at myself, but I just could not do it like to your face because I really don't have anything to tell you that you did wrong. It's just And of
Right.
course, I was like, "Can I come over? Like, can we talk about this?" She was like, "I think we're just gonna talk in circles if you do." And I was like, "Well, I feel like I deserve to talk in circles for a little bit at least." Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it just should not have come down to like a phone call and then have to hang up the phone. Like, all right, well, that's it.
Right, yeah. I get what you mean. Yeah. Okay, so looking back, like where you are now, um, now that you're out of the relationship and you can kind of detach yourself and look at it from an outside perspective, do you feel like, you know, that you do you feel like now that you were in a real relationship that like looking at it now, like I'm sure when you were in it it felt like it, but looking at it now, it's like, oh yeah, there was lack of communication. There was there's like no argument, all of these things. And obviously, I'm not saying that a relationship has to have arguments for it to be authentic, because it's not always the case. Everybody's different. But do you feel, looking at it now, that it was like a real actual relationship for you?
I feel that way, and she said that she felt that way when she was in it. I'm just kind of wondering if she kind of like got caught up in like the idea of finally being in a relationship and
Right.
just got excited. Um, I don't know. That's a good question. Like, we're both like adults. Like, we both lived on our own. Saw each other all the time. She worked from home mostly, and I worked from home. And
Right.
I think a lot of it is like before I met her, like, I graduated like with a degree in print journalism. I did a little bit right after I graduated college, but then the whole time I was in New Orleans, I had just been bartending because it was good money, and I just kind of forgotten
Right.
some things about myself that like I used to have like ambitions or whatever. And then like when I met her, it was right around the same time. Like I kind of quit bartending and got back into writing and like started focusing on my career more. And she was like the complete opposite of my ex that I dated for 5 years.
Right.
And I think that will feel like humans kind of work that way. Like you go from one end of the pendulum to the other. Like you try to find
Right.
somebody that's different from the last relationship. But
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Definitely to me, it felt like a very mature and healthy relationship. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
I
It
don't know. That's
may.
just me. I'm starting to get the sense that like she did not feel that way because it's been like I have not heard anything from her. I know she's already kind of like back on some like these dating sites, and
Right. Okay.
like she moved on very fast.
Yeah. Yeah, because it seems like it may just have been a thing, like you said, like just caught up in the emotions of like having somebody, and then once it got real, it just kind of felt like, oh, okay, well, now I no, obviously having no experience from it, it's hard to deal with certain things, and sometimes you will have to be, um, you will have to be, confrontational and say all these things. So the
Yeah.
lack of experience definitely plays a big part in it. So
Yeah.
it may
And
have
it's not to
been.
say that
Mhm.
like I felt like communication was okay. Like I'm a very open, like communicative person. Like we had very different personalities, but I thought they meshed well together. Like me being a writer, like I kind of wear anything on my sleeve, and like I'll always be open to talk about whatever.
Right.
And there were many times like it's like, hey, like if you're ever like uncomfortable like anything with how fast we're moving, or especially like when we kind of first did the whole like I love you thing, I was like, look, you're not gonna like hurt my feelings if you say that you want to take things slower. So I always kind of like made that push, be like, hey, if there's anything like you want to talk about, like like you don't, it's not going to be a confrontation. Like we can just halfway talk about it. But she was always very adamant that everything was fine and she was happy.
Right. Okay. So do you feel
And
like
people,
maybe? Yeah. Go ahead.
no, you can go.
I was gonna ask it. Do you feel like maybe that was a sort of like a buildup? Like, you maybe you subconsciously thought something was up, so you felt like you needed to ask. Like, are you sure? Like, do you want to talk? And then her saying like, no, no, no. Like, do you think maybe that's just like that was like a buildup of not doubt, but maybe just some sort of like a warning sign, maybe.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah. We went on our first vacation on my birthday, which was the 22nd of March. We got like a cabin in the mountains in Tennessee for like a weekend, like 4 or 5 days.
Right.
And when we got back from it, I kind of sensed that like something was a little different. But she claimed it was just stuff with work. She has a very stressful job. I can't imagine like my job is to go in and make rockets fly.
Right. Yeah.
You do something bad or to mess up something, people die, or
Right.
something
Right.
that costs like $1 billion blows up. I just put words on paper, so it's pretty. I mean, it can be stressful with deadlines or whatever, but even if I miss a deadline, that's about the worst case scenario, and nothing bad
Right.
ever really happens from it. So, she kind of said that a little bit of it was work, and she said everything was fine. But yeah, obviously looking back on it, like she had been feeling this way for like a few weeks, and I imagine she first started to feel that way kind of after like our first extended vacation together.
I see. Okay. So yeah, I think maybe it just kind of comes down to her lack of communication and her lack of like knowledge in about or experience about a relationship just kind of maybe got the best of her and it really overwhelmed her and it made her just want to like run away from it and I can see that happening with people who have a ton of experience as well. People just get uh I guess I don't know. I get they just get spooked by
Yeah, I mean,
a
commitment is
commitment. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a tough thing to do for sure because before for me like I the thought of being in a 3 year relationship, like if you would have asked me 5 years ago or maybe even longer, I'd have been like, no way, I can never do that. And then I did, and that commitment is not easy. So I think people just maybe they don't know what it's really like, and then they just
yeah.
get so far gone, and then what ends up happening is that the other person gets hurt because of it, and then then we have to pick up the pieces, and that's the thing that sucks.
In hindsight, like I probably should not have tried to like make things move as fast as they did. Especially given the fact that it was her first relationship. Because, like I said, like my last relationship, we dated from the time I was 21 until I was almost
Right.
26. Like so, and I had been, when my freshman year of college was the first year Tinder came out, and so I dated around like and had kind of gotten all that out of my system of like sleeping around, like whatever. So I've been ready to kind of like settle down for a while. Or not just
Right.
settle down with anybody, but I've been always been, you know, the idea of like a long term relationship is something that I'm looking for and not something that necessarily scares me.
Yeah.
And but it's hard to imagine being 23 and never having been in a relationship before. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like a thing that it just happens of so many different circumstances, and then the
yeah,
problem
like
then is like the older maybe you get a bit more, then you don't want to get to the point where then you feel too old, and then you have no
yeah,
experience, and then you immediately you hook onto somebody, you want to get married, like that, you want to have that good balance of like, but it's okay not to
yeah,
date, like having a really good time off and then just kind of work on yourself, and that hopefully that could be something that she can do for herself and then realize a few things. So
yeah.
for you, if she were to um say a few months down the road or something like that, she feels like, oh, you know what, I made a huge mistake, I realized so many things, I've matured in all these things, I would like to make it work, how would you respond to that?
Oh, I mean, I'd probably drop everything I was doing and then go back. Probably just not
Yeah.
the healthiest mindset to have, but just being honest with myself, like, yeah. Um, but I just like I thought about that, and people like, like I talked to my dad, my stepmom, my mom, like close friends, and anybody I talk to,
Right.
they're always like, maybe like kind of what you just said, like maybe like it's just like the exciting feel of it wore off, and then in a few months, she'll say like, okay, maybe like I was happy, and maybe I want to try again. But I just genuinely like knowing her and knowing type of person that she is. She's not rash. She doesn't make decisions on a whim. I don't think she's going to do that. I could be wrong. I've been in relationships where it's been on again, off again type things, but
Right.
I feel like when she into something like that, it's going to be like more permanent.
Right. Yeah. And I think for that stuff to happen, if you guys were to come back, and this is like for a lot of people that are on the subreddit that do want somebody to come back, and I have said this many of times, but you just have to you have to accept that it's over, and you have to be willing to lose them to want to get them back in the future. And the thing is that it won't work if they say like let's say next week she's like, hey, I would like to try it again. It in my opinion, and it could be wrong. I'm sure there's cases where it has worked, but I think that if it's too soon, that it really won't work out because emotions are still high, things are still kind of just around, and you have to let the first relationship just kind of die down and just kind of end and accept that it's over for a new one to be created if you guys were to get back together, because there has to be a lot of maturing done, which won't happen in a span of like a month or 2 months. So
Yeah.
it is definitely something that takes time.
Yeah. We did see each other a week ago because we each had like a lot of clothes that were at each other's place, like other personal belongings. And
Right.
when she first did it over the phone, I expressed, I was like, it doesn't have to be tomorrow or whatever, but at some point, like when we give each other back our clothes, so I feel like we need to have one last conversation in person so I can get some sense of closure and try to understand like what's going on.
Right.
So we had that conversation, and I mean, it was productive to an extent, but she still like just kind of kept saying like, I don't know to a lot of stuff, or, like, it wasn't anything you did. I don't know why I feel this way, but I could tell like she was kind of like upset at herself because she could tell that I've taken it like a lot harder than she has, and I kind of made a joke to her. I was like, well, it's okay because I've already decided that 2 years from now we'll wander into the same bar and we'll both be single and we'll make eye contact and everything will spark back up. And she kind of laughed and said that, yeah, maybe, but I doubt it's ever going to happen. I was just trying to make her like feel like say like hate or something to hate yourself. Like I'll be
Right.
okay.
Right. Yeah. 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 It really does just seem like she's just at a point in life where she's maybe not either willing to commit or just is scared of the initial commitment because it's so foreign to her. So it
If I
definitely
had
takes time. Yeah.
if I had not had the same thing happen to me when I was like 19, I'd probably be a lot more mad. But I remember like the girl that followed me from high school to college, like 6 hours away, and she's so upset. And I felt so bad because I couldn't really do anything besides say like, I don't know, it's nothing you did. It's just like I'm 19 and I'm living like by myself for the first time ever, and I'm in a city for the first time ever. And I just like need to experience life a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like I know how that feels. Like you can't compete with someone's idea of like anything else out there. Like
Yeah. 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 I mean, this is it's a unique thing for you because you get like because you also have done the same thing and then the same thing has happened to you, so you kind of get both sides from it. But are you doing no contact? Are you guys still in speaking terms, or what's going on with you guys there?
like I said, I saw her uh like last week, and that was the first time we really. I texted her that day. It was like, hey, I'm kind of close to your house. Like I had just got done playing golf with my boss, and I was like, I've had your clothes. I'm backed up for a while, and I don't know if you need more time, but if you're okay, like I'll come by and drop off your clothes. She was like, okay, yeah, come over, and we talked, but we haven't talked then. I kind of told her right then. I was like, it's like my mom has your number, I know, So if I ever need to contact you, like for an emergency or whatever, like I can get in contact with you, but I'm gonna delete your number for a while just because I don't trust myself to like if I go out one night at like 1 in the morning or something and get drunk, like I will probably
Yeah.
call her or text her. I just didn't want to do that, and so the best way for me to do no contact was to like delete her number and stuff. But like I told her, it's like it's not because I hate you or anything, and if there will be a day where I feel like maybe we can be somewhat friends again, but for a while I need to kind of like make myself forget about you.
Right, right. And how is she with like the whole no contact thing? Was she's like, yeah, like
She's too nice to say it, but I know for a fact that's definitely what she wanted. Like,
okay.
yeah, like
Okay.
I said, like before I went back over there, I'm not back on Tinder or anything yet, but one of my friends is, and when we broke up, I was like, look, it's gonna suck, but if you ever see her back on Tinder, like I just need you to let me know because I need to know like how fast she's moving on. Like this actually meant something. And it was like less than a week after we broke up.
Right.
So I was like, I feel like I'm having a very difficult time with it, and like all I want to do is like talk to her, but she is obviously like the complete opposite. Like
Yeah.
she is very okay with this being over, and it's ready to move on, and it's ready to see other people. So
So how are you kind of dealing with, or how are you doing the whole checking her social media, and are you like just kind of trying to not keeping tabs, just trying to get, you're still thinking about her a lot, obviously.
yeah, I am. Well, so I don't use a whole lot of social media. I use Twitter. I don't really tweet a lot. I follow people that do tweet a lot. Like I've always liked that medium.
Right.
But she doesn't have it. But she has Instagram, but I don't have it. She has Snapchat, but I don't have it. So outside of
Right.
Facebook, there's not much to really check. And she had not made a single Facebook post since I've met her. She does not make like updates on her Facebook, whatever. And neither do I really. I really only have it for family. So there's, unless I were to like download Instagram or download Snapchat, there's not a whole lot of stuff to check,
Right. Okay. So
which
are
is
you?
kind of nice. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's no like temptation to go like check anything because I know there's not really anything to check.
That's like the number one. That's like the number one issue that I had, and that's like I feel like that's like such a thing that happens to everybody, where they like the social media is like the thing where everybody is just like checking every single time. Like I've said this before, on I think I said this on the last episode, which I need to upload. Is that I used to wake up because I get up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, for the gym. So I would get up. The first thing I would check is who she's who that person's following. Who like what are they online? All of these things, and it would consume my life so much that I would check it like 10 to 15 times a day, and just be on it so much that just one day, I needed to stop. Like I realized I needed to stop. It was controlling me. And that made me realize that she was still controlling me, even though we're not together. Like her existence was like such a controlling thing for me that I felt like I was not able to move on because I just kept holding on to some sort of either hope or thing of like, oh, she might message me, or thinking like, oh, who is she talking to now? Is she following anybody that I don't, all of these things that it made me realize. It just made me take a step back, like saying like, what are you doing to yourself? You're letting somebody control you, and it's like depressing you, and it's making you feel like you don't want to do anything anymore, because like that my initial thing with when I was like, because when I was dumped, I was doing so many things for that person, willing to move and get a job at their their area and all these things, that it just felt like when I was dumped, it just felt like, okay, when I have nothing to do anymore, I've just completely lost. I don't know what to do. And then I tried to fill my head with so many different hobbies that I can do, and just trying to I went into like overdrive. Just I tried to do so many things, and then that made me obsess way too much, because then it's like, okay, well, these things I'm just doing because it's for her. Like everything just felt like I was still doing it for her, and it just made me want to take that step back and realize, okay, well, I need to do these things for myself, which I think is the hardest thing to
Yeah.
try to admit to yourself, isn't it? Just try to say like, okay, well, I need to
Can I
stop
ask
doing
you a
these
question?
things. Yeah, go ahead.
So you said it was like 3 or 4 months ago that y'all relationship ended. Is that what
Yeah.
made you start the podcast, or is this like more than 4 months old?
Yeah, actually, okay, so it mine was at the end of January, and after that, I went on I went on YouTube, how to get your ex back, all these typical
Uh,
things, the typical videos.
I've
I
actually not done that. I get on
don't
the the
you're
subreddit
good.
every once in a while. But honestly, like you found me from a post I had made on the subreddit. But outside of going there to make a post to vent every once in a while, I don't scroll the subreddit and read other people's posts. I did like
Yeah,
the next day, but then on like honestly, like reading them all, it made me so depressed. Like,
yeah, that's like one of the things too. That's one of the things I did want to talk about. So it's like for me, I went on those YouTube, the dating things, like, oh, how to get your ex back, all these things, and that just made me more like, it just gave me a lot of false hope. I feel like a lot of those things are just a lot of false hope that they just kind of prey on people who are vulnerable at the time. And then I've always had a Reddit, but I never used it. So then I decided to make another account, and then just go on the on that subreddit, and just see like, okay, there's actually something here for people. And then the more I read it, it's the same feeling. I was like, damn, this is really like sad and depressing. Like
it really
I
is. And I don't even
can't.
want to.
Yeah,
Like, you feel bad for thinking about that too, because like, obviously, like we've both been there. What how some people feel like when they make posts, like I'm sure you've read that are some of them, you know, how like do I get her back or whatever.
yeah,
But I just felt so bad immediately, like after reading those. So it's like because I always knew like when it ended, I was like it's not gonna. If we do ever get back together, it's going to take at least like a few years. Like she's going to need to experience another relationship or two. Like
right,
so, getting her back was never like an option for me. But yeah, just reading like those posts, people like still being in that mindset. I don't want to like talk bad about anybody because they're obviously hurting, but I just could not. It's nothing that I can scroll through and like read on a daily basis or even a weekly basis. I
yeah,
go there, like I've made like 2 or 3 posts since it happened, and I just do that almost like a journal type thing. So I got kind of tired of like bothering my friends with it, you know. And so like I just go
yeah,
there to like it's almost like writing something down in a journal. Like I just needed to get it off my head, and put
yeah,
words down. And
exactly. Yeah.
but yeah, I don't scroll through it or anything for that
and
reason.
and I think that's a good way of kind of treating it. It should be kind of like a personal journal. Yeah, people are may or may not read it or comment on it, but it's like at the end of the day, there are strangers. Like it's a I love it, but at the same time, I know it's a double-edged sword. It can definitely help because you're gonna get so many different perspectives, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to make the podcast, is because I want to have different perspectives with different, just different circumstances of breakups and all these things. But I don't want it to be like the subreddit, which I love the subreddit. I think it does help, but at the same time, as from experience, the first week I went through that breakup, I was in that subreddit reading everything. I was never posting. I was just reading a bunch of things, and it was like 20% good of like people being encouraging, but it was a lot of people just saying a lot of toxic things or just being really sad and depressed, which I completely understand. You're going through that breakup, but I think it just kind of turns people very bitter, and I didn't want that. Like when I started making posts, I tried to make them about more positivity and more about a self-help type of thing, which I think that's the thing that probably is lacking, which I'm sure it's there. I'm sure there's tons of people giving that positive outlook and that self-help thing, but I think it should be more about, it should be like it should be more than just like I'm sad and depressed that I no longer am with somebody, because yeah, that's very real. It's a very real thing. It you feel some sort of physical pain when you're going through a breakup, but at the same time, you should take that opportunity, or you should take that as a lesson to kind of better yourself. And that's kind of what I would like to see more of having a thing of like, yes, I'm going through this, but at the same time, I'm learning as I go, and it's a never ending phase of learning things. And, it's just injecting more positivity on there, because it can get very depressing after you read so many different things.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like social media. You don't want to be on there so much.
yeah. I feel that. Yeah, I'm honestly glad like the whole how it worked out with like social media and the fact that she does have Twitter, that I don't have Instagram, and so there hasn't really been a way for me to like go check up on her life really. The one thing that I did have to cut off. So I'm a writer for two magazines in the city that I work in, and
Right.
but on top of writing, I also get to sell ad space every once in a while, which is, I've never done sales before, but the commission on when I sell ad space is more, it's a better paycheck than
Right.
the articles that I write. And so when I first started doing that, her mom had just retired from a career in HR in the city, and she had worked at a few different places. And so she would contact me if she ever had like a lead, like, hey, you might try to hit these people up. I know they're looking for advertising. And like a week after it happened, I want to say that I can't remember, but it was, I got an email from her mom, and she was forwarding me. She was sending me a lead to get sales, and I appreciate it, but she forwarded me the email that she had sent to this guy, and it said, "Oh, I think you should talk to Noah. He's a really nice guy, and up until recently, I thought he would be my son-in-law." And
Mm,
when I responded, I was like, I didn't say like, oh, we need to stop talking or whatever, but I just kind of said like, okay. And then she was texting me or emailed me back something. And she's like, you don't have to, be awkward. Like, me and you can have a relationship, like just because you're not dating my daughter anymore. And I just had to be like, look, I'm not trying to be awkward or anything, but I just can't. Like, when I saw your name pop up in my email inbox, like I immediately just started thinking of her again, and seeing you put that you thought I was going to be your son-in-law. Like, I understand your daughter is probably taking it very well, and you might think that I'm in the same mindset, but I'm not. And I need to not talk to you for a little bit. And I felt bad. I don't think she quite understood where I was coming from, but
yeah.
her husband's an engineer. Both her daughters are engineers, and I guess she's just kind of around that type of mindset all the time, where people that have that type of mindset of they can detach relationships like that and not let themselves get overwhelmed or emotional. But I've never been like that. I have
Yeah.
always had a problem of like letting myself get too worked up over something.
Yeah. I mean, I completely get how you feel. Like it's the same thing happened to me. Like her parents loved me. Like I would go over, stay over. They would love to have me to they would enjoy me like there, like sleeping over, and all these things, having that family, time. Where when the breakup happened, I wrote to them, and then we had like a small little conversation about it, and then they were very like, hey, this just because this happened doesn't mean that, if you ever need to talk, just message me and all these things. And it yeah, it felt nice having that thing of like, yeah, okay, my parents, their parents like me and all these things, and yeah, despite this, I can still talk to them. But I knew in reality that that wasn't really going to be the case, because it's kind of awkward when you're practicing no contact and still messaging them, and
Yeah.
have or also having just some sort of relationship with them still, while you're not, like I'm sure that the parents are lovely, but you're kind of there for that one person. You're kind of there
Yeah,
for the one person, and
yeah. And
that
I said the same thing to her that I did her mom. I was like, if you ever need anything, if there's ever an emergency or you just need somebody to talk to, like, I'm always here. But
right,
it
yeah,
can't be anything regular. Like, it cannot be, I can't get an email from her mom every other day
right,
about leads or whatever. Like, I appreciate the help and, leads she send me as possible more money in my paycheck. So it'd be
yeah,
nice, but especially the way she worded that particularly, like, if you're going to say that, don't forward it to me. Like, you know,
right, yeah, yeah, and it's just like I think in reality, I mean, I'm usually an overthinker, but my mind went into like thinking, okay, if I decide to stay friends with everybody and just still talk to them, like what happens one day if my ex gets somebody new? Like, I wouldn't want to be that person that's like, hey family, when they're clearly trying to meet somebody new and all these things. And I think I would just want to avoid any awkwardness.
yeah,
For myself, it just kind of felt like it just didn't feel like, I'm sure they said it in a way of like, yeah, we're probably not going to talk again, but they were just being nice. So I just kind of took it as that and just kind of went like with it. So I think that may be a thing. That may be a thing that happens a lot with a lot of people. That that maybe the breakup wasn't extremely toxic, and then your parents actually really loved you, and you loved their parents, and everybody was really close, and it's just things that didn't work out. I guess it's to everybody's discretion. Their circumstances are different, but I guess I would say maybe avoid contact with everybody until you feel like you have moved on, because if you just try to just keep talking to a dad or a mom and then not talking to the ex because obviously the breakup is there, I think that it just might create more awkwardness, or it might create some sort of thing. I think the worst thing you can do is kind of give yourself that false hope of like, okay, maybe if I speak to her dad, then I can get that person back, or like
yeah,
you having that sort of thing. So I would suggest just avoiding contact with like everybody. I'm sure that if it wasn't toxic, obviously, I'm sure that that would definitely help in the healing process.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's
I feel like
just
that's going to be the next step. I don't foresee it happening, or if it does happen anytime soon, I doubt I'll see it because the whole like we don't really have any common social media or anything. But I know at some point, way sooner than I ever will, she would probably move on and like start dating somebody else, and I do not look forward to that day. Whenever I come across like it could be something. I think I'm still friends with her mom on Facebook, so if I had to guess, like, it'll probably be something like that. Her mom, like, we'll post a picture of them all together or something. Like, I'll eventually see it whenever it happens,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's gonna be the next. I'm not looking forward to that day.
yeah. No, I know what you mean. I see. For me, I feel like I am very much over. I didn't expect to be over the ex this quickly, but I think even for me, it'll still be like a weird feeling seeing that. Like I mean, I say this now. I can say this now and be like, oh, I'll be fine and all these things. But I mean, the day of, I'm not. I can't really say how I'll feel. I'm sure I will feel something, but I'm trying to just kind of get myself like from now, just keep moving on, keep focusing on myself, and then take that power back for myself, where those things won't affect me, or if they do, they won't be as big as I imagine them that they will be.
Yeah, and it's really weird. Like I don't know, my last ex, like I said, almost 5 years, and this breakup has been so much harder. And I think it's a lot because I had felt like I was turning a corner in life. It kind of got back to what my degree was in, and she was just a lot more mature. Also, my mom hated the ex that I dated for like 5 years, and
Okay.
she loved the most recent one. And like she cried when I told her that she's really religious and she hugged me and she said, "I've been praying to God that He would send you somebody." And I really thought she was the one. But yeah, that me
Right,
too.
right.
But yeah, I did not expect like I think it's so difficult because of how easy it was for her, if that makes sense. Like I had kind of like thought that we had something great, but me being like her first, I thought that if we ever did break up, it would be at least somewhat difficult for her, like being
Hmm.
like her, but it just hasn't been. And I think that is making it a lot harder, even than my last ex that we dated forever.
Right, yeah.
But also, like my boss, like the so I worked for two different magazines, but the same couple, both of them,
Right.
and they lived next door to her mother. So whenever I go to their
Hmm.
house or go see them, like, and they're like good friends with her family still. So that
Yeah, I
was
see.
kind of weird. And I kind of went through a phase like the first week it happened. I was like, are they gonna fire me? Like, I don't know really if they only hired me
Right.
because like I was good friends with, or I was dating like good friends of theirs or what. But yeah, it's been 3 weeks now. And I'm still getting assignments or whatever. So
Right, right, yeah.
I guess that's not gonna happen. But it's still weird. I went, I played golf with my
Right.
boss, and then went to his house after, and like passing by. It's not even her house; it's just her mom's house. Like, but still like passing by, and it's like I hate this.
Right.
I hate it so much.
Right, yeah.
But
Did
I don't know
he
how it was. Go
yes?
ahead.
I just going to just to say like it may be for her that um that if it may feel like at this moment currently she's not really uh having much emotions or like crying so much over the breakup because it may be that it may be just a lack of experience, um but it could be that maybe later on she realizes a lot of things, and I think you can only hope for the best when it comes to her growth and her maturity. And at the same time, I'm sure you're learning so many things. Like I always try to say that the breakup is always a win-win situation for you. You either mature, you get better, both hopefully the both of you guys get better, mature, there's a lot of self-love, self-growth, and then you guys come back and then form a new better relationship. Or if it doesn't work out, she doesn't come back, she doesn't ever grow, she doesn't ever mature, she keeps having that grass is greener syndrome, she keeps going, so like saying, oh, I some maybe there's commitment issues there. um then you win as well, because then whatever have you, the universe, uh God, whatever, removed that person from your life because you don't want to get super invested. Like, let's say that person does have commitment issues and does have that grass is greener syndrome, and they are having a really hard time dealing with it. What happens if you get so committed that you get engaged, or
Yeah.
you get married, or you have kids? What if you're so deep in that they feel like, well, I didn't realize I wanted all these things, and now that I have them, I don't want them anymore. So it's like, it's always good to just kind of, I know it sucks, obviously, having it done, like, just feels like you were blindsided and all these things. But I always try to see it as like it could be a blessing in disguise, because maybe later on down the line it could have been much worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, kind of one of my friends like echoed kind of the same sentiment when I first told him. Like, I mean, I know it sucks, but it's better happen now than like 5 years from now. Like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because we were getting to the point like we were talking about like her lease was ending in a few months, and we had went and looked at a few places to get our like at one place together, and we just got kind of talking about it, and it felt like that was kind of like the next step to take. And so I'm glad at least I don't have to like find a new place to live, or she doesn't find a new
Yeah.
place to live.
Yeah. I mean, like, although it could always be much worse, it doesn't obviously take away from the fact that you're going through it right now. And I mean, I will say, like, you deserve to be with somebody that's want to it's going to be fully committed and won't have that thing. Because I have seen a lot of people in the subreddit have that issue with somebody leaving them because they think that there's somebody better out there for them, or that they have that grass is greener thing. So it's like, don't don't ever it's okay. So for me, in my opinion, if somebody were to leave me for the fact that they think that there's something better out there for them and all these things, if you have a lot of if you take that time when that person left you, and you use it to better yourself and to create that self-love and all these things, and you just mature and you grow so much from the breakup, at that point, if that person decides to come back and they haven't grown or they haven't done anything, at that point you would just be settling, and you don't deserve to settle for somebody who is kind of treating you like that second option.
Yeah.
um I think, to me though, if that would obviously, if they did mature and they were like, oh, all these things, that would be up to everybody, individually, to see what they have. I think for me though, I don't think I would, if somebody decided to say, you know what, I regret what happened in this, because I don't know, I guess
Yeah,
I'm just,
I
in
meant
my
to
mind,
ask
I'd
you.
still feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I meant to kind of ask you the same question back when you asked me that. Like, I know it's been, you said around 4 months. Like, if she randomly called you or texted you, you said, like, she'd like to meet up and maybe talk about trying it again, do you think you would? Or do you think you're to the point now that you realize that it was for the best?
You know what, I feel like, so I went through a very weird phase of like wanting to get this person back, to then kind of being really angry and upset at this person, and you know having to, I force myself to take them off that pedestal of like thinking that they're amazing, they're great, they're the only ones for me, all these things. But I think I may have done it to the point, I did it to the point where I felt a lot of anger towards that person, and I kind of used that anger to knock them down that pedestal and just kind of see them for what they were, as like just like they were a great person. They were a great friend as well, great, like they were great, but there was clearly a lot of things wrong, to where if she were to say, hey, let's get back together, I definitely wouldn't do it, because it took me all these things. It took that anger to just kind of now get to the point where I don't get angry when I think about her, where I don't think any negative thoughts towards her. I just think that there was a lot of negative things in the relationship that needed to be fixed. And um, at this moment, if she were to say that, I don't think there would be enough maturing from both sides to be able to get back into it. Yeah,
I'd like to get there. I think I'm slowly heading that way. Like, the first week was kind of like, I just felt like I had like a panic attack like every day. And then in the 2 weeks
yeah,
since, like, I'm 90% of the time I'm okay. Like, I'm keeping busy with work and whatever, but it's just that every once in a while, like, it just comes back. Like, it feels like the first week all over again. And I just feel like if there had been something to kind of, if she had said it was this that made me unhappy, and I could be like, okay, well, it was this, and I don't know, just something besides I need to see what else is out there. Like, just knowing
right.
the idea that, like, it wasn't anything I did wrong, that she just did not really feel the same way that she used to. Like, I don't know. For some reason, it makes it just so much worse. Like,
Yeah,
I,
I completely get where you're coming from. See, my breakup was looking back at it, my breakup was very much like I should have seen the signs coming, because there was clearly a lot of things um wrong. I mean, like I've said this on another episode, but like the the day I was dumped, we had an argument, so it was clearly a lot of things going on there. So I think at the same time, where it's like, for you, you may have plenty of great reasons to feel how you feel, and be upset at the situation. But I would always highly suggest, like, to me, I went to that place of like really making my ex into like a bad person in my head to try to forget about them and try to move on from it. And it's not good. It's not good to do that, especially because you know that they were a great, genuine person and that they were loving and caring. Um, so you try to get yourself into that mindset of like thinking, okay, well, this happened and I'm upset by it. Um, and then you kind of use that anger to help yourself and not make them into a villain. And then you hope that you get to the point where you just don't wish any bad things on them. You just kind of like, it happened. I think I would rather just remove myself from them, and just like that. I think that that's where I'm at, where I don't feel like I even want to be friends. I just want to remove myself from the situation completely because I don't want to hate them and I don't want to be angry at them, because if they make me angry when I think about them, that means that I haven't healed myself and I'm still letting them control my emotions.
Yeah, yeah. I never really went through, or I haven't yet. Maybe we'll get there one day when I realize, like, I mean, I I hate how she did it. Like, that was really immature because it was a serious enough relationship, but it should not have been done over the phone. And I think she could have tried talking about these feelings a little bit beforehand if she was feeling it instead of just keeping everything festered up inside. But
Right.
I don't have it in me to try to hate her or like try to even like vilify her a little bit. I think it's kind of tied to like why I was so drawn in when it hadn't really been like, the grand scheme of things a super long time. Like I've been in multiple relationships that were both longer than how long we dated, but I don't know. I think a lot of it, and she's too nice to say it, or she never did, but she again, like she has a career at NASA, like she's building rockets, and uh, I do have like a stable job, but I don't make anywhere near as much money as she did, and I'm a good
Right.
bit older than her, and I feel like that might be it when she's letting on. She wants somebody just a little bit more stable and can, at the drop of a hat, like go take a vacation or do whatever. And
Right.
so I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I keep thinking like, oh, I'm just not good enough. Like I'm honestly not successful enough to be with somebody who is already like has this much of a career at the age of 23, and
Right. I see.
it's probably not the healthiest mindset either. I wish I could make it go away, but
Yeah, I mean it's never. I think it's just a natural thing to always have that self doubt and feel like you're not good enough. And I understand that it does stem. It could stem from that her situation, and that she's successful and has a great career and all this money and all these things. But I always try to think of it as like um you're on a singular path. Like, everybody that you meet, or if you have a relationship, it's somebody that just attaches to your path. But at the end of the day, the path is singular. You're going on this journey alone, despite you having friends and family and a relationship and all these things. Everybody's path is individual, in like it's you're on an individual journey to finding out whatever your passion is, whatever your job may be, or whatever may happen. Sometimes you stray off the path because of a lot of things. You get distracted by so many different things. um but it doesn't mean that you're any less worthy, because you're not really competing up against anybody except for yourself. And that's something that I had to tell myself as well, because I started my career late. Like I'm 29, so my career started only like a few years ago, and that was going through a lot of waves of like, I have no idea what I want to do. All my friends are doing something, meanwhile I'm not doing anything. And then feeling that self doubt of like, can I even have something? Can I even have something stable and all these things? And I still struggle from it, but I try to tell myself that I'm on the path just on my own and everybody else's path is separate from mine. I would rather figure it out on my own time instead of thinking, okay, well, this other person is doing something, so therefore I have to do something to keep up with them, or I have to do something. And like if you're already if your mindset's already going to thinking about somebody else, so therefore you have to do something, then that's when that's where the problem starts because it's like you're you're thinking about somebody else to try to to do something whether you may like it or may not like it. You have to find your own thing that's going to fuel you, and you can use other people as motivation. That's always great to have motivation from other people, but since you're on this path alone, you have to get into that mindset of like, okay, how can I compete with myself only and make myself better, and just kind of also stepping back and not try to look at it as like the big picture, because I think that's what we tend to do. I tend to do that all the time, and I either live too much in the past or live too much in the future and don't live in the now. And I always think of it, I was like, okay, I need to do this, and that in order to become successful. I need to do this. I need to do this in 5 years. I need to do this, and that messes me up because then it feels too overwhelming. So what I try to do is win the small battles. Um, Tell myself, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow that I haven't done last week that's going to better myself, and then just kind of take it day by day or week by week, month by month, and just kind of do things that I can look back on and just be like, yeah, I did that last week and I'm happy that I did it and I'm going to do it again this week and I'm going to do even more.
Yeah. So for you, like for me, I kind of feel like I'm in the second stage. Like I said, like the first week was horrible. Like I feel like every day I woke up and it's just kind of like learning how to breathe again was
Yeah.
weird for like the first few days. And then after like a week passed, like I feel like I'm in this kind of second stage to where most of the time I'm not thinking about it. And, it's just kind of like a few moments throughout the day, usually late at night, that it all kind of comes back. But I'm just wondering, like, for you, like, was it kind of this, like, did you find yourself in like different stages? Like, I think I'm in now. And if you did, like, when was kind of like that third stage of, so I know for most people, like the first few days are really, really bad. And then it seems like the next few weeks are, not quite as bad, but still suck. And if there's like a next stage after that, in your opinion, or
Right. Yeah. I think so. For me, the first day was obviously very numbing. I had like no idea. Like, okay, so my mind went into thinking, and I looking back at it, maybe it was a driving factor in getting over things a lot quicker. But after the breakup, I was sad that it happened, and I was thinking, okay, well, now I don't have anybody. Am I going to be alone for the rest of my life? I went into overdrive thinking all these things, and then after that, the second day, my mind went into thinking, well, now what am I going to do with my life? I surrounded all my plans, like everything that I thought of was for her, and thinking, okay, I'm going to do this for her. And then after she was gone, I thought, okay, well, now what am I going to do? I don't have anything to live for, quote unquote. I have nothing to do with like I have nothing. So then immediately I took my car, I drove to like a random parking lot, and I thought, okay, I want to take up a bunch of hobbies and just kind of fill my head up with different things so I don't think about her anymore. And that was a terrible thing to do because I tried to do way too much at the same time, so it was hard to handle. It was hard to juggle. Um, and then I thought, okay, well, let me take let me take this year and do the things that I've always wanted to do, and not try to overwhelm myself too much with thinking I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this in order for me to forget her. And then I said, oh, I'm going to take this year, be selfish, think about myself, maybe pick up a hobby that I was interested a long time ago. Like for me, I play the drums. I haven't played the drums in years, and I ended up buying an electric drum set for myself because it's a hobby that I've always wanted to do and pick up again. And that was like a big thing for me. I was like, okay, now I can spend all this money on myself. I don't have to worry about anything else. I don't have to worry about a flight or going, birthday presents, all these things. I was like, great, I can do this for myself. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna do my stuff, play, practice. Um, and then that just kind of led me into thinking, okay, what else can I do? And then I started thinking about my health. I was so complacent, um, that I was just like in a relationship so happy that I was just like, oh, it doesn't matter if I gain weight. I have a relationship. Why does it matter? I have a girlfriend. Why do I care, right? So then once that happened, I started thinking about my health more, and then I joined the gym, which I still go to now, and it's great. It got me out of the house because with the pandemic and everything, I was working from home. I was doing so many things from home that I was just like during the breakup, I was just in my room in my bed, and I was thinking like, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of this funk. I need to do something. I need to go outside. So then I joined the gym and met great people. Just started lifting, just feeling better about myself, like feeling better, looking better, all these things. So then, but at the same time, I was still doing that. Like I was saying, I was still checking social media a bunch of times. I was still thinking all these things, all these like, oh, I need to see what she's doing. I need to do all these things, and then that also made me realize, okay, well, am I actually doing this for myself, or am I doing these things to try to show off to this person that has dumped me, or try to get them back and say, hey, I'm working on myself, so come back. And then I hit that breaking point where that then turned into like that anger that I said, and then turned into thinking, wait a minute, I need to do this for myself. I can't do this for somebody else because I want to take this year for myself and make it about myself and be selfish with my time, learn about myself again, and then just kind of go into this whole thing, which then really did help me think, okay, I need to do this for myself, because if I'm not doing this for myself, if I'm doing it to either spite my ex or try to get them back or all these things, I'm not really helping myself at the end of the day. So I decided to do like a complete 180 and change my mindset of thinking, well, take win the small battles. Yeah, it still sucks. Yeah, I still think about the ex. I'll still like check social media every once in a while. But ultimately, I try to tell myself every day, you need to do this for yourself. You need to find yourself again. And if you're in it for the reasons to try to get that ex back or spite them, then you're not really healing. I think the biggest thing is that you need to detach yourself from the ex and just kind of put all this effort into yourself and try to learn about yourself again. I think that's the biggest thing. You may have missed a bunch of stuff um about yourself that you didn't realize, like I think just for me briefly, it's just that I knew that I was just complacent and that I was losing a lot of myself to gain love for another person, and I knew that wasn't a good thing to do. And it wasn't their fault; it was my fault. So that the breakup kind of helped me realize a lot of things that I needed to fix about myself, which is why I always try to say, look for the positive things in the breakup, look for the things that are going to help you learn, because there definitely are lessons in breakups.
Yeah, yeah, no, that I feel like that makes a lot of sense. I feel like I'm like it's kind of like one step away from being there. Like obviously, like like I had made a few steps in my career beforehand, like a or during the relationship. And while I still am like her the whole time, I kind of felt like that relationship defined me. I still get pleasure, and I got pleasure from work. And whenever
Right.
if I have an article published and it gets a lot of traffic on the website or something like that, I still get that rush of dopamine or whatever. Like I feel accomplished, but I don't know. It just feels like at the end of the day, like it just kind of always comes back to that. And it's just hard to imagine it like this feeling going away. I know it
Yeah.
shouldn't feel like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I was I
Like
was I
I
was right there with you. Yeah.
I was, I am somewhat materialistic, I guess. Like I like things, and I like to have money to do things, and so that was kind of like, I did love her, but you know, I've always been working for myself, and I feel like I'm trying to better myself, like for her, or I just never felt that way, but I don't know, like even like I had an article published last week, and yesterday my boss told me it was like the highest performing article for the website in the last like year or so,
It's awesome.
and like it feels great, and I'm glad that it's happened, but I don't know, you start to get kind of philosophical at the end of the day, and it's just like, what do you really want out of life? And for me, like for the last few years, like all I've wanted is like just somebody to come home to, and
Right.
which is probably like, I mean, I shouldn't feel that way even when I'm in a relationship. I wish there were more driving factors in my life, like, but I could be named editor in chief of the magazine tomorrow, and while I'd be happy, I just don't know if that would still be really what I want in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. There's a lot of things that I feel like I would definitely want right now, and then maybe that's not actually what I actually need. Um, so I think for you, I think that the most important thing for you is like to remember to always remember that the things that you're going through right now, it's for yourself, and then don't compare your process to somebody else, because it's never linear, right? You're never going to go through the same steps that somebody else is going through. And you never know when you're going to feel better. That's the thing that sucks the most, is the unknown. I was right there with you, thinking like, okay, when am I ever gonna feel like myself again? I didn't feel like I ever was. Like I would go outside, I would go out to eat and all these things, and I would still feel like there's something there, like that dark cloud was always there. But eventually I did, and eventually you will too. And I think that's the thing, is that I try not to force it. You shouldn't try to force yourself to feel better. You will feel better, and just accept the fact that it may take some time, and you just go through it slowly, day by day, and just know that things will fall into place. You will feel better. You will find things that will make you passionate again. You will find these satisfying things. You just have to wait, and you have to be patient, and that's the hardest thing to do. But just know that eventually things will fall into place, because they always tend to do. Like things happen for a reason. Is what I always like to believe. Things happen for a reason. Fate and or all these things, it was
Do
it
you feel
was
that way?
yeah, I think things happen for a reason. I'm not too sure with fate. I feel like, if things are meant to happen, yeah, I think like if things are meant to happen, things are meant to happen. But you can also do things that determine these things. But um I do think things happen for a reason. There's a reason for these things. So I try to worry about the things that I can control about, and try not to worry about the things that I can't control. Like that also helped me with the next two. Like I can't do anything about the fact that she broke up with me. I can't force her to change her mind. I can't do all these things. So I can only worry about myself. I can only worry about the things that I can control. So I just leave the like okay, I know that I'm going to feel better at some point. This isn't a forever lasting torture that I'm going to feel, and I know that things will fall into place for me at some point. But I'm doing things now to help myself, and I'm grabbing control of the things that I can control, and I'm doing this in the hopes of like, okay, well, I want to do this now, so therefore in the future, if things fall back in place for me and these things are meant to happen, or whatever have you, I'm going to look back and think like, okay, yeah, I'm so happy that I did these things before, and just kind of set a foundation for myself. And I just know that eventually things will work out, whether that's like getting back with that person or not getting back with that person. I think the most important thing to do is just to have that focus on yourself, and just kind of do the things now, put in the work now, so that way in the future you're going to look back and be happy about all that work that you put into yourself.
Yeah. I kind of wish there was like a next step up for me in my career that would be feasible, like, this year or something. As of right now, I'm just like a staff writer and I sell ads. So outside of like publishing more articles or making more sales, like, yeah, I wish there was. I'm very like, I guess, goal oriented in the fact that like I like titles or promotions, something like that. So
Right.
I wish there was like something to be like, all right, so I'm upset right now, but I can focus and just take this next step. But there's not really this next step up for me. Like, I could just say, oh, well, I need to write more articles or make more sales. But, I was happy with the work I was doing beforehand. So I'm like, I'm in this weird kind of stance of like, professionally, I'm doing better than I've ever done in my life. And I
Right.
just wish that made me happier, I guess. And
Right.
that will
Yeah.
come with time. Yeah. I just, you know,
Yeah.
I
I
wish
mean,
I
then you
got
never.
more satisfaction out of being
Right.
somewhat successful, like professionally.
Yeah. And you never really know what may happen in the future. Like, I think the biggest thing I would suggest is just you take this time, especially now that you're single. Learn how to be single again. Learn how to love being single again, and just kind of take this year for yourself. Just be selfish with yourself. Do the things that you like. Pick up hobbies that you may have missed out on, or something that you always have wanted to do. Now that you have more time for yourself, and then you just never know. You never know what may happen in the future. Like, you never may know what happened with your career, or whatever you're doing. You never know what may happen, but just take the time for yourself now. Like, just
Yeah.
be selfish with yourself. Be selfish with yourself, and just like learn about yourself again. I think the biggest thing to do now is just learn how to love being single again, because being single really isn't like that bad. Like, it's actually like I am enjoying it again. And I was thinking like, okay, what, like the first thing I thought of was like, okay, what did I do back in the day when I was single? Like, I was trying to remember, like, what was I doing? Because I remember I was pretty happy. And and I was thinking like, what was I doing 3 years ago? And then that's what I'm kind of doing now. Like, I'm on that journey to myself. I'm taking this whole year to just kind of get myself in familiar again with me being single, and just like actually loving it.
I feel like the next step, like I am a member at a gym and I still work out regularly, but like 5 months ago or 6 months ago, I had started taking boxing lessons, and I got to the point where like they'll schedule kind of like lessons, people kind of like next to each other, and if you could spar if you ever want. And
Right.
I went in for a sparring session like 4 days after the breakup, and like 5 minutes into it, our the owner of the gym had to like put a stop to it. He's like, I don't know what is wrong with you right now, but you are way too angry to be sparring with anybody right now.
Right. Right.
I was like, yeah, that's probably true. So I haven't been in for a sparring session anytime soon, but I feel like if I did, it would just kind of be the same thing. It's like I got in there and it was just like blood red. That's all I saw. Like, I just like, all right, I need to take out my anger this way. But doing it onto like another
Right.
person, like, yeah, that was not safe. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess
I
probably
think.
like learning some sense of self control and learning how to
Yeah,
do that again without being so angry.
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's such a bad thing. I think you can definitely use that anger towards a benefit for yourself. I think, yeah, just learning how to just kind of control it more and just doing that because I was doing that too. I was like running or like lifting and just thinking like, oh, I'm so angry. I'm just gonna just try to do this, and then I'm gonna, if I would have kept it up, I would have ended up getting hurt because I was trying to lift something that out of anger and then just pulled something. So I definitely needed to like take it back a bit. It's just kind of like, okay, well, I need to stop doing this for another person. I need to do this for myself. So I definitely recommend that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. Because that would be great to kind of do that again. Because that was like one of the few things that outside of work, outside the relationship, like I know it sounds probably kind of shallow, but just being able to spar with like another person, like have that outlet, like was always nice. But then the first time I tried to do it afterwards, I felt like I was trying to hurt somebody, and that was not safe at all. And
Right.
I would like to do that again. That was one of the few things. Like I like working out, but it's not necessarily something that's always gives me like any intrinsic type of joy. Like
Yeah.
like just like lifting weights or whatever. And but like boxing, like it really did. Like I loved it. And,
Right.
but I don't really trust like I can go in and like lift weights and whatever, but I don't trust myself really to get in a ring with somebody without losing
Right.
control
Right. Yeah.
and make it like unsafe for myself and the other person.
Yeah. And
But
I think just like having this like outlet here, like it may be able to help you kind of see things from different perspectives, like just see things for what they are and just kind of get yourself just like having that I think the most important thing is having that step back and just kind of looking back at things and looking at them as like, okay, well, I'm going through this right now, but with some time, with patience, with commitment, with dedication, I will see things differently, and just kind of having those small little like victories. That's like the main thing here for me is like having those small little victories. Just kind of thinking like I would love to do, I would love to do that, but I feel like, okay, I'm too angry to do that, but slowly get back into it, slowly like ease into these things and just try to not dive in head first, because that's what I tried to dive head first into so many things, and then I ended up just being like, I can't keep up, this is just way too much for me, and I needed to find things that I actually wanted to do for myself.
yeah, for sure. Well, man, I know it's been a while. I guess we'll probably get to the point to where I'm just giving you too much. I don't want to make your podcast episode be longer than it needs to be. So,
Oh, no, no worries, no worries. But yeah, it's just winding down here. I would just love to ask, because I usually always ask this, like, what are the things that you feel like you have learned after this breakup, like whether the good or the bad, that you can apply to a next relationship or for your life?
um, that's a good question. I guess if I had to give you an answer, it would be to whenever I am ready to move on, I get to my next relationship, to not let myself get attached so quickly, even if she is like the best thing since sliced bread, and
Right.
to learn how to let your sense of like self worth or happiness come from something besides being in a relationship with somebody else. Because the relationship can be great at saying like it can always end, and you need to have something to fall back on to say like, well, this is who I am, or this is what gives me like some sense of self worth besides this other person telling me that she loves me.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a very very good perspective to have. I think it's great to have that. I think what I will say, I think your healing is there. You may not realize it, but I feel like you definitely have a better perspective, especially going through such a recent breakup. You do have a open mind to things. You do have a good perspective on things. You may not realize it, but I'm here to tell you that yeah, I think you are healing, whether you realize it or not. I think it may take you a little bit of time to realize it as well.
Yeah, that makes sense for real.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
but
I was meant to ask you like beforehand. I was wanting to listen to like an episode or two before I came into this, so I could be a little bit better prepared into how you take it. But are you like on like Apple Podcast or
right now I'm only on YouTube. I'm still trying to work on trying to get it in different areas, but right now it's just on YouTube for the moment.
gotcha?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can send me a link whenever you publish it.
Yeah, of course. And
Okay.
but that's it. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, talking about your what's going on with you, and love to have you back to maybe in like a few months, just see how you're doing. Keep my
Yeah.
fingers crossed. Hopefully you're doing much better, but I think that you will definitely heal. You need a little bit more time, and just remember it's individual. And yeah, for sure. I mean, hey, do you would you like to plug your the magazines that you write for? Or, if you wanted.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. It's mainly local stuff. It's called Huntsville Event Magazine and the Huntsville Business Journal. Event Magazine is more just kind of like almost like a print version of Facebook. Almost like we just highlight different community events that go on in the city of Huntsville, charities, different businesses that are celebrating their like 1 year anniversary or just stuff like that. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's just mainly like Event Magazine publishes to. I think we reach about like 70,000 print readers every issue. It's
Okay.
kind of one of those big magazines that you find like at a doctor's office or something. We do have a subscriber list, so we do mail out as well. But a lot of the readership comes from being out public places in the city. And then Huntsville Business Journal, which, I don't mind plugging it, but everything is hidden behind a paywall for the Business Journal. You have to subscribe. It's like $5 a month. And so you can't read an article, even if you were to go on the HuntsvilleBusinessJournal.com. But anybody is listening and they're in the area of Huntsville, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
for
my
sure.
last article was the Business Journal. I wrote about Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman are developing a new generation of ballistic missile testing, and they're both their headquarters are in Huntsville for the new project. So that was the last thing I published that I kind of mentioned like was doing really well, like in terms of online traffic. So uh, the next issue of Event Magazine is May the 1st, and I have a 5-page spread coming out about different forms of outdoor entertainment in Huntsville. Uh, the whole theme of this specific issue is beating cabin fever. Like, now that quarantine is over for a lot of places in the city, people are coming outside. So it's just kind of like a reminder of like, hey, now that you're getting outside, go to this state park or go kayaking here or go to this tulip garden. So
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys are in the area, definitely pick up a magazine, subscribe to it. I think is great. I think it's great to have that I want to do that more. Like if anybody's out there that does like that wants to come on talk about the breakup, but also happens to do anything else, please feel free to let me know. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, talking about what's going on with you, and just thank you everybody for listening. I hope you guys are feeling a lot better this week. Remember to make this week yours. Just focus on yourself and just be happy and just love yourself. Just thank you so much, and hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.
yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem.